Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss Linux, tech, open source. Wow, I messed that up already. A place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a chat about a Linux project, such as a distribution, desktop environment, or it could be an application. We'll also chat about the news and other variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I have Eris, Justin, Dan Kelly, Ben, Sravan, Linux Ninja, White Chocolate, also known as Terry, Penguin Revolution, and Jinda. How is everybody?
Excellent.
I'm doing good. At least I'm not the butt of anybody's jokes now.
Well, you could be if you
that.
try hard enough. So I want to thank you all for being here on this December 10th, 2022. On the docket, we're going to talk about the Calibre eBook application. Check what's on the menu for next week. Do a news flight, a community free pour. We're going to talk about a very special project with a couple of people here on the panel. But first, what have you been doing in Linux or tech? Penguin Revolution, also known as Alan. You said you got yourself a new camera. What are you going to be doing with this camera?
Well, I've already started shooting my next video with it, but I've actually had this about, I want to say 3-4 months, and I've been using it to record my other YouTube channel, which is kind of a reselling channel because I've been doing that as my job. But I just realized that you could just that I can just hook this right into my computer via USB. And OBS will recognize it as a camera instead of my webcam. Because sometimes, and I started doing this because my webcam, for some reason, after an update of OBS, it broke my webcam. It was making it this blurry mess. So this fixes that. What is this? It's an Akaso EK7000, and it's a kind of a GoPro. Alternative.
Kind of small.
Yeah.
It'll fit in the palm of your hand.
Yeah. Well, GoPros are about the same size too. And so it's just a little action camera. And if you were looking for a camera for like OBS, but you didn't want to go a webcam, this is about like $60 or $70 retail.
Oh my.
So, and it's got a really good sensor in it. I've had no problems.
USB or wireless?
It has the ability to go wireless, but I find its latency is a little bit slow, so I just plug it in USB.
I wanted to know what its options were.
Yeah, but it does have the ability to do a Wi-Fi connection and do the same thing. So, but yeah, I've had no problems with this.
Is it USB-C or is it the old USB?
It's micro USB.
Micro USB? Okay, that's kind of compatible with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's got micro USB.
Different from USB-C, Dan? I think USB is USB when it comes to the computer.
This is USB-C that goes into this game controller. This is the first USB device I bought and the only one I have. But it goes from USB-C that plugs into the PlayStation or the Xbox controller to USB-A plug, like that.
Yeah, I think everything's pretty much going USB-C at this point, but it shouldn't really matter.
No.
What USB could be A, B, micro, or C. It shouldn't.
Yeah. Well,
the C standard's kind of a splattered mess right now because they have 20 gigabit transfer rates. They have 40 gigabit transfer rates. They even have cables with different wattages you can run through them to charge your laptop.
Yeah.
It's really confusing because if you use a cable that's just too small to charge your laptop or with gauge wire and it's really tiny, it'll burn the cable up.
Actually, it'll sense and actually not overpower the cable. It actually can sense the resistance in the cable.
I don't have one to prove that, so.
So basically what USB-C means is just the oval shape.
Yes.
That's all it means. It doesn't mean anything about speed. It doesn't mean anything about how much power it can deliver. It doesn't mean anything like that.
the only time it makes a difference is if it's a Thunderbolt cable, because Thunderbolt has a higher transfer speed than regular USB-C. But USB-C is basically USB 3 redefined.
Yeah, actually, there's some really good videos out there. I don't know which I haven't don't have any links handy. Jinda probably does because Jinda has a link for everything.
Sorry about that, guys.
No,
Yeah.
don't be sorry about that. That's like your superpower. But that actually goes over the different standards and what they mean, and then the requirements for that. But there's actually I watched something recently. I can't remember
Nice
by
Text
whom.
Tips did video not too long ago.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So Thunderbolt has Linux Ninja. You could have probably just piped in there and set it, but the Thunderbolt has nothing to do with USB-C. It just piggybacks on the on top of the USB-C interface. But yeah, Thunderbolt is pretty fantastic. I use that feature all the time. It is quite awesome sauce.
Hmm. But yeah, but that camera is that camera. When I bought it, it's the best money I've ever spent right now.
Well, that's very positive.
Yeah.
So if you can like share, because someone else might be interested in a camera like that, you might want to share like a link to where you got it. And with the,
Yeah, I can go ahead and share some links in
Yeah.
just a second. Actually, I gotta get into the stream chat, so.
Yeah, okay. Oh, and John, welcome. I see you snuck in through the swinging doors, and the floor didn't even creak as you walked up to the to your stool. So welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
You and that perfect sounding mic. I tell you what.
$35 mic, man. I'm telling you.
Some kind of magic sauce in that mic there that I don't know what you're doing, but it sounds great.
It's not a USB mic, is it?
No, it's going.
Yeah,
through,
USB
going
mics
through a
don't sound
mixing
that
board.
good.
Yeah. No, it's a yeah. It goes through a mixing board and not much processing though. Just a little bit of compression. That's all I'm doing to it.
Oh, it sounds nice. It's got that clean radio sound to it. Like when you hear the DJ telling you about his something classic rock
Talk
and the best new
radio
rock.
sound.
Or that too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. I have, because of all my audio gear, I have mics that are more in like the $400 to $500 range. But I don't know. I like to find really, good stuff for very inexpensive. So I've been using this one for a few weeks now, and I've really liked it.
That's pretty fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like my mic. My mic's like a $35 mic too, and I don't sound too bad either. It's USB.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to say about your camera, Penguin, before I move on, or is that?
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, very good. If you haven't yet voted in the straw poll, I should have said this before we started with you, Penguin. Do so. There is a link in the YouTube chat. I don't know if that kicks over to Twitch or not, but there it is. But Eris, would you like to take away the straw poll?
Oh, the StrawPoll.
Yeah.
So I said, what are your thoughts on Calibre? And 58% said it is great. 25% said it's okay. 16% said not interested in doing this exploration. And that is pretty much it. So overall, everybody either thought it was okay or great.
Yeah, I wonder if there's probably a lot of people who don't really use ebooks at all. I can't remember if Anna said that she's a big ebook reader or if she's a big I only read paper books.
What I really like is audiobooks.
You like audiobooks?
Yes.
Is it? So she says she does. I don't know what she does, but she do. She says I do.
I like to just zen out with an audiobook and not have to use my eyeballs.
Okay. Yes. Ebooks and audiobooks is what she just said. Yeah, I have used Calibre. Years ago, I used it pretty heavily. Then it kind of fell away because I don't know why. Something changed, and then and I kind of sort of forgot about it. Maybe it's because I lost my Kindle for a while, but I did find my Kindle. I do have it. Still works amazingly, and yeah, that Calibre is pretty fantastic. So I guess let's kind of go for step by step here. With the with Calibre, how was the installation process? Did anybody What did you use? I used the RPM packages in the OpenSUSE repository. I just said OPI, Calibre, found it, and installed it. Eris, how did you install it?
I first tried Flatpak, and then it seemed like it installed fine. And I tried opening whatever the format is for like the Kindles. I think it's EPUB or something.
Mhm.
And it just like stopped responding when it was working. I'm not sure what happened with that. And then I tried doing the deb from I have a Ubuntu installed.
Okay.
And that worked fine. I was able to read the EPUB file fine. I also noticed that I can just read the EPUB with Ocular, so that does the same thing.
So yeah, no. I guess so. You were able to install it ultimately without a problem. The Flatpak didn't work out for you, but the deb package worked out well.
So one thing to know about Calibre, it's an ebook it has a viewer, but it's not good for reading. You can use it to read ebooks, but it's for ebook management. So there are better ebook readers, like you're saying Ocular, right? There are other ebook readers which are better at reading ebooks.
So I'm
But
gonna.
Calibre,
Ocular is just like everything. It reads
Yeah, I
everything,
know.
like
Yeah.
PDF. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, I really liked what the upgrades they did to the ebook reader
Yes, it's
portion
good.
of it. It's actually really good, and I like how it automatic. Well, let's get to that. I want to wait on that because I'm jumping the gun here. So who else installed Calibre? I don't know if Justin, if you happen to play with that, or if you've ever played with that even.
Libre? Are you talking about LibreOffice?
No, Calibre ebook reader.
Oh no, I haven't played with that.
Okay, Ben, did you get a chance to play with that? Obviously, Servan, he probably installs the Arch package. He probably builds it from source or something like that.
I use the Arch pack. It's there in community repository and both Arch and ArchArm. And on Windows, I used Chocolatey to install. Like it's obviously a multi-platform package, so you can install it in any operating system you want. I'm not sure if there's an iOS, if there's an Apple like iOS or Android app, but they're like supporting apps for that. But yeah, you can install it in pretty much anything you want.
I used to install it like doing the pip3 install. That's how for years, that's how I used it previously. Linux Ninja, have you tried Calibre? No? Yes, maybe? Or
Used it in the past, but
Yep.
not lately.
not lately. How about you, Terry, aka White Chocolate?
I've used it in the past. I like it.
Okay. And Penguin, did you say you took some time to use it or not?
Yes, I did actually take some time to use it. I installed it from the Ubuntu repositories with a deb package,
Okay. All right.
and it read all my ebooks, including the EPUBs, just fine. So I had to do some like signing in and stuff to certain things because they're DRM protected, but it read them just fine.
Okay. How about you, Jinda? Did you happen to play with it much?
Yeah, I played with it. I don't know how deep you want me to get into what I thought about it. So
But just the installation process. Look, what was your
it
method
was
of installing
fantastic. It was just a flat hub.
Okay.
Did it in flat hub, took seconds, lit right up, works perfectly.
Beautiful. John, I don't know if you've tried the Calibre ebook reader before. Yeah. And
Yeah, I've used it quite a bit for years. Not much to read ebooks, but mainly doing conversions. I have a couple different types of ebook readers, so it's nice to convert files back and forth and stuff.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That the conversion thing I think is pretty darn slick, and we'll get to that. So as far as setting it up, did anybody set up so you could send like I don't know if you have does someone here have like Kindle or something of that nature that you can actually send ebooks to it? Okay.
I've got a Kindle and it works fine. Yeah, you've got it just uses the email integration. So you set that up and it works just like emailing it. Takes usually a minute or two and it shows up.
Yeah, that's how I used it quite a bit to like send things over to it. There was I started reading a book on kind of help me with some Python, and so I sent that over to the ebook, no problem. My little Kindle Paperwhite. Do they still make these things? These Kindle Paperwhites? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
At least they
Okay.
did less than a year ago because I bought one for somebody back then. So maybe they don't
Okay.
now, but they did.
I
I-
mean,
They make like new versions, add more features, and make it more expensive.
yeah.
And they
I
sell
mean,
the older versions for cheap.
Yeah, I think I bought it before I viewed Amazon as being a
Yeah.
giant corporation.
well, yeah, I've transferred it between this tablet and Calibre just fine. I put like a lot of the free ones using Calibre onto the Kindle app right here, so they work just fine.
That's quite the case you have on that tablet. It's
It used to be one of the kids' tablets, and
Okay, I
I
was
just
gonna say,
never
'cause
changed the thing.
that's like
changed
a
it.
what you give to a child. I don't know if maybe like you're telling
Yeah.
us something about
No,
yourself.
yeah, it used to be a kid's tablet. I just never changed out the case.
So one of the things I like to use my ebook reader for is for like I keep a lot of recipes on here, like different cookie recipes. I know that sounds weird, but I like to. It's really nice to just kind of set up. Anyway, did anybody here set up an ebook reader besides myself and John?
Yeah, I've used it for like 10 years, so I have
Okay.
multiple. Like over the years, I've replaced my ebook readers, but every single time I use Calibre for managing all my ebooks.
Now, as far as like downloading the books, like do you pull like the DRM books off your device into a Calibre? Is that a thing?
Yes, you can. It might take some doing to get Calibre to recognize them, but sometimes Calibre will allow you just to log right in. But it can be a little bit tough to get your DRM protected ebooks into Calibre.
So
DRM is a DRM plugin. Like everything is in Python, right? Because
Okay.
of some Python version clashing and something like this, DRM plugins never work properly. Like sometimes they work, but after like a month or 2 months, they don't work. It's very hit or miss.
Yeah, it's because they're battling the vendors like Amazon are actively trying to shut that down. That's why they.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the DRM servers. They probably changed up the algorithm all the time to keep people from doing it.
yeah, I didn't mess with that part of it so much as the actually I haven't messed with the DRM piece of it at all, honestly. A lot of the books I have
a
got
lot
for free.
I have a lot of Kindle books, so I have spent some time with that. What I have personally found is that the older Kindle books, like older versions of DRM, you can be pretty successful with stripping it. But a lot of the newer books, it's tough. It's tough to find a working combination of things.
Yeah, I haven't actually purchased too many books lately. It's all been like I signed up for something and got a free ebook, and so it was just kind of nice to be able to manage it that way, and then push them up to the Kindle. Were there any features that you really enjoyed using on Calibre? Don't talk all at once.
Everybody's like,
All right, well, I'll tell you. So one of the things that I really like about Calibre is there's some manuals that I used with a previous employer, and they got them in PDFs, and that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes it's nice to this is a while ago, so when you don't always have multiple screens handy, and it was nice to actually pull those PDFs into Calibre, and then I converted them to the EPUB format. And I was able to go through and actually edit the ebook and take out some of this superfluous information and so forth. It made a really nice reading experience when I had to reference a manual. Yeah, it took me a while to go through and clean up all that. I was able to do it fairly quickly. It didn't take me that long to do, probably 15 minutes. But it made for the reading of that PDF in an EPUB format like really easy to go through and do so. And I also do searches and whatnot, and be able to highlight things and take notes, whatever, right in the ebook. So there was that the Calibre was able to do that. Just made like the editor on that thing is super awesome. And so I don't know if you've checked that out, but that's actually a really neat feature that they have in there. As far as like tagging and rating, yeah, I didn't really care about that. Did anybody use a tagging or rating?
No.
Yeah, so I'll explain more about that. It's like
Sure.
if you have a huge ebook collection, and if you're storing it in an ebook device or even on a computer, like having tags, metadata, organizing them properly is really helpful, because your device, like if you are on a computer, it's easy to organize things by folders, right?
Mhm.
You can easily find stuff. But if you are on a Kindle or whatever, like there are only few ways you can sort things. And if your metadata is not correct, you can't sort stuff that easily. So that's why all this metadata tagging. And also there's a really cool feature. It downloads thumbnails automatically. So if you can mass update thumbnails of all the ebooks if you set up proper sources. But you need to set up proper sources. Like I generally set up Amazon Bookstore, Goodreads, or Google Books for sources of metadata and thumbnails. And if you set them up properly, you can update the metadata for all the books automatically. So you need not do the tagging and everything like manual. Everything is automatic.
So Anna says that the DRM, the add-on to take out the DRM only works in Calibre version 3, not in 5 or 6. I'm running 6.9, I think, 6.9.0, something like that. That's interesting. The other thing too is I since I hadn't used Calibre in a while, I tried to import my data from my previous usage of it, because the folder is still there with all the documents, and that was actually not successful. So I think it was just too many versions out of date, unfortunately. So any other features that you really thought were pretty cool that you want to talk about?
I mean, I just love converting the books to a different format. So I could finally take some of the ebooks I've had for a while that I could only read on a computer and put them on the tablet so I could actually read them.
Okay, yeah.
So because I had a few that were in like a certain weird format that wouldn't read on the tablet at all. So I forgot even what format it was after I converted them.
Anna says she likes to edit her metadata on her ebooks, so that's interesting too. And she uses the Kobo, I think, reader. I think is what she said. If I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. I remember things. Yeah, Kobo desk.
That's like
yeah.
one thing with manuals. If you got manuals in an electronic form and then you find a mistake or you want to add notes to it, it's really hard. If you have the real book or printed out on it, you can take notes and write down, well, this wire was in the wrong spot, it goes here and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I agree that sometimes like a paper book is a lot easier for, quick referencing, putting like a Post-it note or something in there. But the problem I have is my Post-it notes will fall out or they'll get ratty on the edges.
But they gave me a pile of service manuals that is about 6 feet tall for all the different pieces of equipment. And every one of them had mistakes in them. And I would just write in the books because they were given to me to be the keeper of them.
I know with PDFs, I've actually marked up PDFs without a problem, like using Ocular. I think is that what's called, Eris? Ocular? I can't remember what it's called.
Yes, I think it's Ocular.
That's spelled OKULAR.
PDFs.
Yeah. So I actually use that feature quite a bit.
One thing that is helpful with actual electronic books, even with service manuals, if you're looking for a particular item, you can pull down the search and put in the name of it, and it'll take you right to that spot of the book.
Right, exactly. That's the one thing I really like about ebooks is the very rapid searching you can do. So totally agree. That's a nice feature.
There's one more feature I don't think people have. If you're trying to not, have you tried the Calibre web?
Oh yes, that is a really cool thing. You can actually, I was able to use the experimental browser on my Kindle, unless there's a better way of doing it. And I was able to read the ebook on my Kindle through the browser on that, which I thought was pretty cool.
Actually, let's say you have a computer where you set up the web.
Mm-hmm.
If you use like a DNS service or whatever, you can actually the DDNS service or like you can read it anywhere on the web, like anywhere in the world.
That's pretty cool too.
Forwarding and other stuff.
Is that that the content server on there?
Yeah,
I've never looked into that. Is that what does that you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, that's super cool. And actually it looks really nice too. It has a very professional look to it. It doesn't look like, 1997 web experience. It looks like a modern, like a real nice modern experience.
Yeah, I think Linux Ninja is a good point. Careful making the web server available on the public web. Yeah, I agree. That's why I use Tailscale, so everything is in a local network. I have. So I think the Arch Wiki is a very good resource for setting up the web server. If you go there, there are very good instructions about how to use systemd services to set up a web server and just keep it on. And I use that, and then that automatically, like any computer in my Tailscale network can access the content server. And there are two advantages of the content server. One, as Nate said, we can use it in a web browser. Or all these things are in terms of an OPDS format. I forgot the full form of OPDS. It's like some library format. So if you have any app on your phone or your tablet which supports this OPDS service, you can open that content server on that app and download the ebook.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
So there's Moonreader in for Android and Skybook 3 for iOS. So these two, in my opinion, are one of the best like ebook readers for those iOS and Android respectively. Those support this OPDS service. So anytime I want to transfer books to my phone or iPad, I can directly like open the web server from my iPad and directly download the book instead of. It's very hard to transfer books between iPad and computer, as if you guys have an iOS device, you guys might have known. But this is a very easy way to download books. And obviously, my computer has the latest ebook library, so I always get the updated ebooks for my iPad or phone.
Okay. So this service actually allows you to download the book onto your iPad or whatever.
Yeah, or your phone, like iOS or Android device.
Right. That's very cool. Is there I haven't checked. Is there a Kindle version of that?
No. So basically, Kindle is not you can't download apps onto your Kindle. That's the issue. Kindle is like a very restricted operating system. You can't download any apps on it. But that's why I don't use a Kindle anymore. I actually bought a Paperwhite and returned it. I bought an Onyx Books. It's an Android-based ebook reader. So if it is Android-based, it has Play Store. So you can download stuff like actual apps. So I use Moonreader both on my Android phone and my ebook reader to read ebooks, and both have that library. Like it can connect to Calibre Web, so I can download the ebooks directly.
That's very cool.
I have one of those too, and what I love about it, you might be interested in, Nate, is the size. It's for reading like technical stuff where you want to be able to view the whole page. Right. This thing is awesome because you can do the full size, especially like if you're, if you don't convert, it's like PDFs or something. It's just nice to have a whole 8.5 by 11
model is this? I think I have this smaller model. Mine is like a Paperwhite size model. This I think is a bigger one.
Do you have any links to those devices? I'm interested because technical manuals would be great to have, or like larger book, like when reading through, books to help me learn something. It'd be nice to have that larger format.
Yeah, it's nice, not super cheap, but it's got you could write on it. It's got a pen, so it's an e-ink, like with those what are the Remarkable tablets or whatever. So it does all that too. So it's kind of nice as far as it's heavy, but but I don't mind that either.
So you can take notes on that. How do you interface those notes then with your computer?
So I don't want to get too conspiracy there, but there are all kinds of services that you can do through the books company. I have not set up any of those. It all resides in China, and I am not super confident in some of that. So, but it's very easy. They have like a little direct thing on your network. You literally go into an app and it spins up a little web server. You can transfer files back and forth, or use it. It's a straight Android tablet, so you can use USB to connect. It's super easy to get stuff in and out, and you can run any app. So you can run like the Kindle app on it, and if you
could run
Kindle
Sync
books,
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Any app that runs on
Really?
Android will run. Yeah, it's
hot dog.
It's a full-on Android tablet, so It's just an e-ink screen, so don't expect full color quick screen refreshes. You wouldn't want to play a game on it or something, but
No,
but apps run just fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
So
what version of Android does it run?
Let me find out. It's either 10 or 11. It was newer than I expected it to be. But I'll find out right now. But yeah, I want to say it's 10.
Yeah, my device has Android 10 on it.
all right. So this is the KaiBook. The KaiBook reader. Is that what it's called?
These are all different apps. Moon Reader is for Android. KaiBook Reader is for iOS. These can interface with Calibre to download ebooks onto your mobile phones or tablets.
Okay. And then
So these are compatible with Calibre. Sorry,
Gotcha.
Calibre. And these are universal, like OPDS is a universal format. So you set up a Calibre server, it'll automatically like transmit that OPDS. It's like a database, and it'll download onto your phones.
all right, cool. And then that ebook reader that has sounds like that.
Yeah,
has
that's
some-
Onyx. Those are Android-based ink, basically Android-based readers, which are similar to Kobo and Kindle, but they have because they're Android-based, we can do more stuff.
All right, this is very cool. This is going to be some so the Nova Air 2, Leaf 2.
Yeah, I think what I have is the Note Air 2 Plus is what I have.
Note Air 2. Well, looks like they moved past the Note Air 2. Oh no, here it is. Note Air 2. They have color e-ink now?
Yeah, I don't recommend using those.
No, why not?
They look strange. Like I've seen some pictures. Like I have not used them. But it doesn't make sense at least for me. Books are black and white. That's fine. If you really want some color, just buy a tablet. Just buy an Android tablet or an iOS tablet. Color e-ink doesn't make sense for me.
Well, man, I never even heard of the Onyx books before. This is a first. Where have I been? Under a rock?
I bought a Kindle, didn't like it, did a lot of research. Okay, what should I actually buy? Then tried this, liked it, and returned my Kindle.
They have e-ink monitors now too? That was like a pipe dream, I thought.
Yeah, no, they do quite a few like little e-ink screens for embedded devices and stuff now too, because the battery life is so incredible. You can run them on battery for days and days or weeks for little used devices.
Wow.
I
Holy
heard
cow.
they have existed for some years, but they're super expensive.
Yeah, this isn't cheap, $750. But like if you're doing like a lot of reading or just, obviously low refresh rate type activities, this is fantastic. Yeah. Holy cow. I had no idea. See, this is why I do Linux Saloon. Like I get to learn something and get to be amazed like a child that walks into a toy store for the very first time.
Yeah, that was pretty much why it wasn't cheap, definitely. But the reason I bought that big one is because 80% of the stuff that I do a lot of pleasure reading too, but I read a ton of technical stuff, and I like having them. I like having all my books on an ebook reader and stuff, and not having to lug paper around. But it's just hard to read that kind of stuff on a small screen, especially if you're trying to follow along, read on one thing and typing stuff in on the other. Like having to page through the little Kindles is tough.
Right.
But also for like eye fatigue and stuff, having that e-ink screen it's really nice. It's better, in my opinion, better than like a tablet or a computer screen.
Right. This is really cool. Super cool. Yeah, because if you could then like I'm thinking in my head now, so we're totally sidetracking the Calibre piece of this, but like to use that for taking notes, because you can obviously do that with the little stylus, and then use it for reading, and then be able to manage it. Like if it's just an Android device underneath, then I can very easily like synchronize with stuff to the computer, no problem. I wouldn't need any external services.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't found any apps that don't work. I have to double check. I think I might have even put. Sorry, it's in the middle of a firmware update, so that's why I can't actually look at anything right now. But I'm pretty sure I installed Nextcloud on this when I was syncing some stuff to it. So I'm pretty sure I put the Nextcloud client on it too. So you can run any Android app.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's super cool. I had no idea. Well, hot dog, I'm not gonna buy a Kindle again. And also, Eris, I don't think that monitor is anywhere in my price range.
I said super expensive.
Yeah, that's
Again,
not.
I don't see a point in color ink and ink monitors, but other people have their own taste.
Yeah, I wonder why it's so much more expensive than LCD technology. Just because it's not as much produced. It's
Yeah, I'm sure quantity.
Yes, and also the refresh rate, because again, e-ink devices are slower, have much slower refresh rates, and have artifacts after refreshing more than LCD screens. So if you want good image quality, you have to remove those, and that probably is expensive. Again, because there's not much use of it in that use case. Most ink technology is used for reading, so you don't need any hertz, like any refresh rate, any FPS, like even if it is 1 FPS, it's fine. You don't care. You spend like 30 seconds on a page.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't care, right, when you're reading.
Right. Huh. Yeah, for reading it's no big deal. I see Adam has snuck in through the doors quietly. Adam, welcome. Nice to see your.
Thanks. I have no idea how my audio sounds. So
It's a little bit on the quiet side, but it's okay. It's not crackly, and you have a very pleasant voice, so it works out.
sounds good.
So Adam,
Yeah,
you,
Adam has like a radio voice there.
He does.
He's got the smooth like radio thing going on.
He does.
I suppose. I'm just trying not to be loud.
I think he could do like those audiobooks. He could narrate those, like, read out those audiobooks. Probably get paid for that. Be a nice little side hustle for him.
I was thinking DJing on like a smooth jazz channel or something.
Yeah.
Today we're going to listen to the tones of pointless noise.
Except he's a little too snarky, I think, for jazz.
Yeah, I don't like jazz. That's like the only music I don't like is jazz. It is pointless noise. Go ahead though. Sorry.
I was gonna say, are you much of an ebook consumer? Do you consume ebooks at all?
No, not these days. I tried. I'm an extremely slow reader, like in every way, like whether it's an ebook or a physical book or whatever. Though ebooks to me are better because like I can kind of space the text out and make it different sizes and things like that, and that really does help with reading. But yeah, I'm just an incredibly slow reader, so I'd just rather have like some YouTuber tell me what the book was.
I guess that's fine. I like to read, although I've been awfully busy to do any like leisure reading. But I do like to use I find that since purchasing the Kindle, I read a lot more than I did before the Kindle because it's just so convenient to have all those books with you in digital form.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I think it's so funny. I'm exactly the opposite of you, Adam. A lot of people, though, really prefer videos. That's why they've caught on so much. Different people, different learning styles. But I struggle with the videos. I just find them too slow and tedious. Like when you read, you can kind of skim through and find what you're looking for or focus on the stuff you want. With a video, even though I'll a lot of times speed them up, to listen to them at faster speed, like. I don't know. It's just tedious to get to the part that you actually want to hear. For me,
my ideal way would actually be to read the book while also listening to the audiobook because like I read slowly, but if I'm hearing them say it, then I don't have to like spend as much time per word actually like reading out the word in my brain. So it kind of helps me to like speed through the book because when I say I read slowly, I mean it's why I don't like reading because it takes forever. And not that I'm that impatient, but it really does. I have to read like a sentence a few times. I don't think I have dyslexia. I didn't do badly in school in that way. Like, and I read code all the time at work and stuff, but just reading like a novel or a book, just agonizing.
Yeah, I like reading. I'm similar to John. Like if I want instructions on how to do something, I need them written. A video doesn't cut it for me. Like I need to be able to skim through and find stuff. Now I don't mind like a video to like kind of give me like a brief overview. This is how you do it, like the general idea. But then to have to go like, watch bit by bit the video, that doesn't work for me. I like to read through the process.
More the video would be more for like fiction stories or something like that, not so much like a technical manual or something of that sort. I'd much rather have that in print because it's indexable, it's searchable, it's you can go back to it easily instead of trying to rewind a video or find the exact spot in the YouTube video or something like that.
You say rewind a video? How old are you?
I did, yeah.
I'm more like
I'm old enough
Adam.
to
I
have gray
can't
in my
read
hair, put it
very
that way.
well. My reading's really slow, and I'll read. Then all of a sudden, I'll still be reading, but my mind will be completely out of the book somewhere else, and I won't retain none of it.
My favorite are pop-up books, but somebody said that's
Audio
not
books are my
appropriate.
friend.
But
No, the pop-up books are fine. Who says they're not
pop-up
fine?
books are amazing. Yeah.
They are. It's kind of like a multimedia presentation without the multi in the media.
I mean, it's
With
just
an
like a
audio book,
foldable
you
diorama.
can close your
Why not?
eyes, and then you can imagine you're there with the person that's reading you the book and go through it like it's a movie going on in your head.
You just gave me the idea to create a VR game where like a virtual mom reads you a story.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'm down with that. That'd actually probably be really good for like hospital patients and stuff.
Yeah.
Man, how did my like snarky thing go into something useful? That's not what it's supposed to be.
You're getting old.
Think tank.
You're starting to lose it a little bit there, Adam. So Sean Gold
Yeah.
says, bonus points for when you're reading a really long book and you fall asleep while reading in a bed. The weight of that book smacking you in the nose isn't as big of a shock with an ebook. So there's that. Also, if you're reading an ebook and you fall asleep and it falls to the side, you don't have to worry about forgetting to put the bookmark in there because I guess unless you roll on top of it and that may not be.
Or the battery goes dead.
Actually, no, it lasts a long time. I charge it maybe once a month.
As somebody who has taken a 12.9-inch iPad to the face in that same scenario, yeah, it's a little Kindle would be preferable.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, this Onyx Book Note Air 2 Plus, 10.3-inch touchscreen. That looks like the ticket right there. Hot dog.
I do want to warn you. This thing it's got to weigh 2 pounds.
Yeah, it's got
maybe
some
2. Yeah, it's pretty hefty.
It's got some gravity to it, huh?
Yeah.
How long does it last?
Way more than the Kindles.
How long does the battery last on it? What time?
Forever.
Okay.
That's why it weighs so much.
Yeah, it's the e-ink screen, so I mean, I use it for several days between charges. If I usually turn the Wi-Fi off, so that makes a huge difference. But
Sure,
that's the only thing that seems to really drain the battery is the Wi-Fi. If you keep that off, it lasts for days, and I usually get under 50% even after days.
So would you say that device is good for personal defense also?
Yeah, I think it'd be even better than the 12.9-inch iPad, to be honest with you.
Is there a case for it? Because I'm prone to I'm prone to dropping things. Actually, I'm really good at such. Linux Ninja says he subscribes to the Kindle Unlimited, so I'll continue to buy Kindles until I die. Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, case. Yeah, it's like a magnetic case, so it's kind of like what goes on the iPads. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to the get some follow-up links now. What?
It's one thing I like the idea that subscribing to Kindle Unlimited is like a blood oath that like once you subscribe you have to use it until you die. About right.
It's good business right there, I suppose.
I subscribed for like 5-6 months and then stopped.
I haven't subscribed to any such thing.
And the good thing about Onyx eBooks, because it's an Android tablet, you can install the Kindle app and it works reasonably well. So even if you have Kindle Unlimited, there's no need to use a Kindle.
Wow. Hot dog. That's pretty well.
And Kindle is too restrictive for me. You can't do many things. Like for example, it doesn't give you reading speed in words per minute. It can, it's very simple, because it calculates how much time left to read, or it doesn't give you a simple word per minute count. But some ebook reader apps do. And you can't go requesting Amazon, okay, add word per minute count. They won't do it.
Well, I think the nice about the Kindle is it's a very simple consumer device, so you
Yes.
can I think that's where its strength is, its simplicity, and that's where it's going to win. Because Sravan, I don't know, I hate to break it to you, but you're kind of a nerd, and so you want to tinker with your things, and I get it because so am I. And I think though that'll probably be my last Kindle I buy. I'll keep using it until it stops, until it dies, and if it dies, maybe I'll just change the battery. But I think that something like the Onyx books, that seems like that's the ticket right there, especially a larger format one. That would be that's a cat's pajamas right there.
Like, I agree, but I've been using Kindle since like 2011. So I got sick of it in 2021. So it's like good 10 years before I got sick of Kindle. So
Well, yeah, that's about the same
used
time I
two
got it
different
too.
versions over the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the Kindle 3 was the very first Kindle I bought, and then I broke one, and then another one just stopped working. So then I got the Paperwhite in 2013, and then I've been using it ever since. So
Yeah, but probably because in 10 years I explored everything Kindle, and I was like, okay, I need some new challenge or new feature or new flexibility.
yeah,
Then I found this Onyx books, and because again, my phone is an Android phone. I've been using Android phone since probably 2009. So I was like, okay, this is very similar. And then it's the same workflow, sort of,
so now
for
you
both phone and
so
tablet. Yeah.
I just want to make sure. So Sravan, you have an Onyx book as well,
Yes.
and you use it with Calibre all the time.
Yes.
Are there any features that you wish Calibre had that would make managing books on your Onyx book better?
Better.
I have one.
What's that?
Well, I mentioned so you can set up an email service just like what the Kindle does, like we talked about, and then that would integrate just fine with Calibre and work. However, again, I don't use that because it passes through their servers.
Right.
So I only use the local thing. So as far as I know, and I haven't looked for plugins or anything, but as far as I know, there's nothing in Calibre to automatically use the local server that like connect to it over a local network or something like that. And it's a feature I wouldn't mind. I mean, the reality is it's literally drag and drop to copy book, so it's not a hassle to copy them back and forth. But I don't know, there's something nice about being able to be right in your or is it Calibre? What do we call it? I don't even know.
I think it's Calibre, but I mean I could be wrong. I've been
Calibre?
wrong by a
Okay.
lot of things.
Yeah, it's Calibre.
Okay. I don't know why. I think in my head I've always called it Calibre, but so I threw myself off there. But anyway, yeah. But
John,
yeah,
I
there'd be
say-
something nice about copying it across like that with writing Calibre.
Well, with that Moon Plus reader, so Sravan, that Moon
Yeah.
Plus reader combined with the content server, whatever it's called,
Yes.
on
That
Calibre,
works.
would that be a good way to like manage books
Yep.
back and forth?
That's how I do. So there are two ways I mainly transfer ebooks. One is through USB.
Mhm.
So if you have a USB cable, that's the first way. That's how I was I did for 10 years. Then I followed this web server. It won't work on a Kindle or Kobo, but for Onyx, it'll work if you have Moon Reader or other apps also
Right.
support these things. So
All
you
right,
can download books, but there's no two-way communication. There's only one way.
It's only one way
for
communication. So if
Yeah.
you
Yes.
so if you are reading through, so using that what's the service called, the OP some
OPDS, yeah.
OPDS. So using that OPDS server, it doesn't send back and synchronize like how far you've read in a book if you like jump to another reader.
Yes, that's the main feature I wanted, but
Okay.
so OPDS stands for Open Publication Distribution System.
Right.
So if you open the web server on a web browser, it'll sync. But it won't if you open on an app, because again, different apps use their own different kinks and protocols. So one thing which I want is synchronizing reading positions over web or USB, or even USB is fine, but that doesn't happen. And also synchronizing of highlights over different devices would be great. But again, because each device and each app, whether it's in Windows, Linux, Android, or iOS, like any app, like each app has its own way of interpreting highlights in ebooks, and each has their own way of reading position. So that's why you can't synchronize across multiple devices or multiple apps unless there's a universal standard. There's nothing Calibre can do about it. So
Okay.
that's the feature I want, but I know why it's not happening.
Right. Okay. That may take some time yet.
Yeah, if there's a universal standard for like basically highlights and reading position, that would be really great because that's what like Kindle sort of uses. So if you have a Kindle, if you highlight something and read at a location, if you open the same ebook on your web browser or your computer or your tablet, it'll sync the position
Right.
and also sync all the highlights because they have a web service which does that. But it's possible because their way of implementing highlights and reading position is the same because they have all the same backend and like they develop the apps, right, for all the devices. It's their software.
Right.
It's just one monolithic structure. So there's a standard for that. And if they change the standard, they change it for all the apps, so it always works.
Right.
But that doesn't happen because Kindle has its own standards, like Kobo has its own standards, Onyx, like whatever, like everything has its own standards, and that's an issue. But maybe sometime in the future we'll get universal standards about this.
Gotcha. So Linux Ninja, I see that you held up, I don't know, like a stack of things. What were those, all Kindles?
I was going to ask him if he had enough Kindles.
This
Like,
this is the one I use on a regular basis. This is a Kindle Voyager.
Okay.
Battery lasts, I guess, a month or so. I've got a bunch of older devices here. I think this is my second or third tablet. Let's see. This may be one of the old Acer original Google tablets. Of course, I've got the Samsung Galaxy sitting here. This is a Verizon branded something. I'm not sure. This is my favorite Kindle. No, that's another Google device.
You can't even tell your Isaac and Esau apart. Good
There's
job.
another Verizon device. That's a Belkin case. What is that on? I don't know. I see something new come out and I go buy it, I try it out, and it lasts me until something else comes out and I see that, and then the previous one gets kicked to the curb and stuck in a box. So, but the Voyager, I think I've stayed with the longest. It's done me well. The reason I went to the Voyager is because the other Kindle I had, that surprisingly is not in this stack, it had a little pull-out light that you pulled off the corner that shined down on the Kindle screen and was powered by the Kindle's battery. It was part of the case. And the Voyager has a backlight, so I don't need the little pull-out light anymore.
Remember the, was it Barnes & Noble had, I think it's called the Nook? Do they still have their own ebook reader, or is Barnes & Noble still a thing, or whatever happened to them? Anybody know?
I know most of their stores are the stores are shut down. I don't know what happened to the reader.
I like Barnes &
store
Noble.
by me closed.
Yeah, Max and said the Nook was awesome. Yeah, I totally agree.
The funny thing about all these tablets is every one of them had the Kindle app on it, and that's primarily what it was used for, was to read books.
Okay. Sean Gold says he purchased his last Kindle in 2010, still going strong, which is a bit amazing for tech devices these days, honestly. And I totally agree. Yeah, it's not very often you get a device that lasts that long.
Me, I've never actually owned an e-reader. That's the thing. I've always just used my Android tablets. Always.
Or your little brother's tablet, or whoever that is.
Goddaughter's tablet now.
goddaughter's
But
tablet,
yeah. But no, the reason why I have this one is because my other one broke.
And then you
So
stole it
I
from your
just grabbed
goddaughter?
an old one off the pile, and instead of just buying a new one, because I got enough tablets around the house. I'm like, I didn't need to buy a new one.
See, my thing is like I'll buy a device, and I won't like. I'm like the exact opposite of Linux Ninja. I will drive that device into the ground, and then try and dig it back up and resurrect it to keep it going for as long as possible.
Yeah,
Because
me
that's-
too.
I think this was my first one, and this one did not have a light, and I'll have to plug it in to see if it charges. But this thing is heavy and thick. I'll have to go look and see what year it came out.
Yeah. Looks like the Nooks are still available, still making new ones and everything. I just found the Barnes and Noble website with them, and so yeah, they've got new devices, so it looks like they're still making them. Hey, one last thing, as far as a sales pitch on this Onyx book, Nate, is I'll tell you, this is the first Android tablet I've ever not been horribly disappointed with.
Really?
I have used a lot of them, probably about as many as Linux Ninja, and they've all been terrible. Of course, well, we'll just leave it at that. They've all been terrible.
I've not actually had a tablet experience. I've really been like, oh, this is great. So I can't say I've got it. Even I've used iPads. I think they're okay.
Oh, iPads. Don't even get me started on that. But the only tablets I've been really impressed with are Samsungs. That's it. Anything else, they were terrible. Absolutely terrible.
There was I think the best tablet I ever had was like this ZTK or ZKT, something like that. It was a kind of a crazy brand. I got it for free from AT&T like in 2016. Had USB-C on it. It was like the first USB-C device I had. And then the only thing that really stopped, the reason I stopped using that is because the USB-C like the plug on it stopped working. You had to like hold it all crazy. Probably because the kids broke it or something. I could probably fix that one.
There's one tablet I really hated. It was Nexus 7 from Google. It was horrible.
Really? A lot of good things about the Nexus.
Released in 2013 or something. It's like when Google was trying out hardware. It was horrible. Like that's so horrible. Like that's what turned me off Android tablets. So I just used iPads. And then finally when I bought this Onyx eBook reader, I was like, okay, Android tablets are not bad now. It was so horrible that I didn't use Android tablets for like 8 years.
My stack
So
of broken Kindles.
Who broke it?
It's always either the batteries went or the connectors stopped working. The micro USB. I hate micro USB.
Really?
Yeah.
So like I had two Kindles, one from like 2011 to 2015 or 16, and then 2016 to 2021. So each of them lasted around 5 years.
Here's some more right there.
Like the Kindles I used were very robust. The battery life went bad, but I think I have the one, I didn't return it. So my 2016 Kindle still works. I just don't use it anymore.
So yes, the alternative he asked is a ZTE. Yes, it is a ZTE, and the tablet would work if the USB-C port was more robust. So that's one thing I like about USB-C. I think it should have gone a few more rounds in the testing, I think, before they released it.
Yeah, ZTEs are decent phones. I never had a tablet though, but they're decent phones.
Should try and take this thing apart. Maybe while we're
Blow the dust off this tablet because I never use it.
maybe I should do that. So we have 2 weeks while we're not doing, because the Linux Saloon would fall on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve, and I don't really feel like doing a Linux Saloon for those 2 weeks. So we're gonna take 2 weeks off. Maybe I'll do like a midweek stream of me trying to fix an old tablet. That might be fun. Who knows? I'll think about that. Noodle that around.
Do it.
Do it. Was that Eris who was telling me that I should do it?
Yeah, do it.
I'll send this to you. You can fix this.
Well, I don't know that I can't fix that. There's an Apple logo on it. It's forever broken.
Well, that's why it's in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think those are unfixable.
Yeah.
It's just bad storage. Needs to have the storage chip replaced. So MacBook Air.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's one of those storage sources that's soldered on the motherboard. Then.
No,
No, it's
no,
not.
it's replaceable.
Oh, okay. Well, I know some of those it's soldered on the board, so you have to desolder it, and it's a mess.
Yeah, Apple pretty much. I don't know if you know who Louis Rossmann is, but he's just like a big advocate for repairability, right to repair, I should say. And
Yeah, and he absolutely despises Apple.
yeah,
now.
He makes his money off of Apple.
Yeah, but he still doesn't like them. I know that.
Yeah. Sure. I mean,
I've used Macs for years. I still have them, and I've always liked them. But yeah, their latest round of stuff is just downright hostile to any kind of repairability. Like it's gone. Even the ones when they first started down that road, like what Linux Ninja was just showing, they're not. They're hard to get into and repair, and but you can get special adapters from places like iFixit to like use standard NVMe and some of that kind of stuff. So you could still kind of get around. Now there's no way. They're just not user
Well,
serviceable at all.
the thing is with Apple these days, even if you use one of those adapters, a lot of them are DRM protected now, where if you stick a third-party drive or something in it, the computer will just refuse it.
Yeah, they're not. That's because they're not. It's not DRM. What they are is it's not a standard flash memory. The controller actually is inside of the Apple Silicon chips. So it's a special drive. It looks like a standard M2 driver, but it's not. There's actually no controller on the drive itself, and so it doesn't function like normal. So, but it's not DRM protected. It's just not. Same kind of
I knew that
code.
was the wrong word, but I'm just like, Apple loves their proprietary technology, and I think they do it on purpose. So you have to buy all the parts from them, and I know in several countries they're getting in trouble for that, because of their right to repair laws. But the United States hasn't got them yet.
Well, part of the problem with that is that iPhones are a highly stolen item. And if the phone gets stolen and is used for parts to fix another phone, it makes it impossible.
Yeah, but also Apple's getting in trouble because of the Lightning charger now in some European countries now too.
The European people want them to switch to USB-C.
And they're never going to. They're going to just make it all completely wireless because they want their proprietary tech.
Well,
Yeah,
their wireless stuff is not proprietary now. It's just a standard key charger, or whatever they call that, the QI stuff. Any same thing that works on Android phones or anything else all works on Apple phones too. Those are it's the same technology.
Yeah. However, I wouldn't put it past them to make it all proprietary. It always happens.
You still need a port on the phone to use iTunes or the Apple computer to load and unload stuff in and out of the phone that you'd want to do.
So I'm pretty sure iTunes has been deprecated for years now. I don't think iTunes is even really a thing anymore.
No, it still works for me.
It works. I just don't think they're releasing new I think it's been dead forever. I don't think they release new versions of it anymore.
Just updated it a month ago.
Yeah, they do. They just patch it for security these days. There's no really new feature updates anymore for it. But yeah, they still maintain it. But I mean, I don't know anybody who hardly ever uses it anymore, because whatever they need, they just download directly to the phone.
It used to be very annoying how any device you would buy that was Apple, you would have to install connect it to iTunes to like set it up. And a good thing they changed that. It's no longer a requirement.
Well, like, I buy vinyl records. When you get a vinyl record, yeah, it's music, but inside that sleeve, and about half of the brand new ones, they give you a card and it's got a web address on it where you can download the MP3 versions also, and then you want to put those on your phone. And the only way you can really do that is to use iTunes.
I say we bring back the 30-pin connector.
I agree. It was a great connector because you could had like analog direct out there. You could actually plug it in.
There's something like super satisfying.
Yeah, I had an
Yeah.
iPad. You could plug right into the
in there.
TV and it would
Yeah.
put it on the TV.
Yeah, I love that connector, but they too bad they sunsetted it. I mean, but these days the only Apple device that I'd be caught dead with is an iPod Classic now.
Still
I
got
think
one.
you still need iTunes to unlock or reflash an Apple Watch.
You still do? Okay.
Yeah, if
iTunes
you
is
put the
an
code in wrong too many
application.
times on the watch, then you have to hook it up to a cable, plug it in to a machine and run iTunes to reset it.
Interesting.
I haven't used iTunes literally in years. I use the Apple configurator for all that kind of stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, I think most people do that now. But me, I haven't touched a Mac in how many years? I want to say over 15 years. I haven't touched a Mac.
That's the cable you're talking about.
That's right. That's a beautiful cable right there.
Oh yeah.
So
Anybody want it? I don't have a device that works with it.
I just had to I just had to work with a device that only had a 30 pin but I don't want to bore you with the details, but basically we had to connect to a newer iPad, so I had to find one of those 30 pin to Lightning adapters, and I burned through I tried all of the cheap ones I could find that supposedly work, like 5 of them. They're all garbage. I finally had to buy the Apple one, which was $70 to get a hold of. That's
Nice.
the cheapest I could find it. Yep.
30-pin connector is like the smartphone equivalent of like a SCART cable. It's just this big chunk of cable that you just, it's satisfying. It's a crappy
SCART.
cable, and no one should love it, but it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Well, John, I think your issue with that was with the Lightning connector. A lot of those cheap cords, they don't have the chip in the Lightning connector. So if you buy a third-party like Lightning cable that's not approved by Apple, it will not work at all unless it's got that chip in it. I bet you those cheap ones didn't have that chip in it.
I don't know. It was really just like I said, the 30 pin side of it. I couldn't get it to function for what I needed it to do, but I finally bought the Apple one and it worked fine. So it's just way too expensive.
Well, that's Apple.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's maybe close it up on the Calibre here. Kind of. So for those that installed it, will you continue to keep it on your system and use it, or is it something that's going to drift off? No, Sravan obviously is going to keep using it. Jinda, do you think you're going to keep using it?
No, it's a memory hog. Never in a million years.
Oh,
It ran like it took like 3 gigs of RAM to run.
really?
Oh, it's such a memory hog. I couldn't believe it. I tried it in virtual and I tried it on a couple other things, and the thing's just a memory hog. Or it's MX Linux that doesn't like it. One or the other.
No, I agree with what Jen is saying. It is a huge hog that I found that too. That's why I pretty much just use it for conversion. I open it up, convert stuff, shut it back down. So I use it, but yeah, I don't like run it and use it on a ongoing basis.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
The funny thing is with mine, it's only taking 300 megs to run it. So it might be because you're running it as a flat pack.
Yeah.
227
Because
megabytes
flat
more.
packs tend to take more RAM than standard packages. So you might want to try and just uninstall the flat pack and install it from the repositories.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
you're partially right about that. The flat pack is quite a bit heavier, but I would say I can open the flat pack and it's not too big of a deal. It's once you start working with stuff, like once you start loading books in it and doing the conversion, that's what makes it explode. And I've seen that with either one, using the packaged ones or the flat pack. Now, and maybe there's a good reason for it. I don't know. I'm not criticizing it. It could be that's a very heavy work to do. I don't know. It's stored, but it does eat a lot of memory and processor.
Yeah, I think that you do. I think the conversion does take a little bit because I wouldn't just converted an ebook just now, and it went up to 900 megs, and then it went back down. So it's got to be something with that.
Interesting. Well, yeah. Also, if you don't have a specific need for it, that's no
Don't
reason
give it
keeping it
away.
around. But yeah. So Servan obviously he used it a lot to manage his stuff, and I think Anna.
Yeah, it doesn't take it at normally it takes 200 to 300 megs. Only while like converting, doing some operations, it takes more. But otherwise, I never found it as a memory hog. But again, I use it a lot, but I don't use it. Keep it open often. Like
Right.
I only open it whenever I need to, like, change things. Otherwise, once I set up the Calibre server, it doesn't take too much memory. I can double check how much memory the server takes, but just to keep server running, it doesn't take nothing, like maybe 50 MB or 100 MB.
Well, of
So
the applications running on my laptop right now, it's number 6 on memory usage. Number 1 being Firefox. Number 2 being my calendar reminders. Can't really say that calendar reminders are taking up 970 meg. I don't know why. I don't like that at all. I'll have to have a talk with
Man,
someone.
yeah,
Busy man.
Firefox is
Busy man.
a memory hog these days. That's why I've moved on to other browsers typically, is because they
They're-
take up a little bit less.
They're all
But
bad.
oh yeah, right now I'm using Chrome. I know I'm using a proprietary browser, but the only reason why I'm using Chrome right now is because of TubeBuddy, because it works the best on that one.
Then I have InSync, my my Google Drive client, then Telegram, then Contact, then Calibre.
Mhm.
Calendar reminders. Why would calendar reminders take up so much memory? I mean, it seems like a very elementary thing to do.
Well, obviously you don't have the memory for it because you need to be reminded. So maybe it's just a lot.
Nate's very busy.
I am actually very busy, and I'm curious to see with this computer if it. I'm actually like I'm irritated now that I read that. Yeah, but the same on this one. Calendar reminders takes 943 meg. I don't understand.
I'm glad Calibre exists because, like, when I finish my fan fiction of Strawin as a hospital corpsman who's actually an AI android, I'll be able to convert it where I need to be. I think everybody should have their own version of it.
I think Servan should actually be the like when you talk to Alexa, instead of it being Alexa, it should be Servan.
Throw a couple nickels at that.
why?
I don't know. I just think it'd be more fun because like Alexa's very boring to talk to.
Yeah, probably for Amazon too. It lost $10 billion over last year or 2 years or something.
Was that because you were a voice option? Or
Alexa lost like $10 billion over the last year.
she spent it all?
I don't know what they spent it on. That's the strange thing. It's like it's already developed for a long time. Why did it lose that much money?
I guess it costs a lot to have a voice assistant tell you fart jokes.
Like,
No, I don't remember. It's the server cost and all, because it seems running these voice assistants takes a lot of server space and
Yeah, I
power.
can see that.
And they hope to make it profitable by having ads and partnerships, but apparently those don't generate enough money. So apparently Google and Apple are also losing money on voice assistants, but not as much as Amazon, because people use it on other devices too, like Google Assistant, people use it on phones, Siri, people use it on phones and other stuff.
Alexa was very open, I think, to a lot of devices. So a lot of devices are using it that have no way for Amazon to gain any money off them. And usually, like Google Assistant and Siri, I mean, they're very integrated to the Google products and the Apple products. So just by the hardware or something related to that, or maybe search for Google, they would find money that way. But Alexa is probably much harder to monetize.
From a security standpoint, man, those devices are, especially the Amazon ones. I don't know if you've seen like their own little how their little network protocol works, how they all talk to each other. But it absolutely connects to other devices, not on your network and stuff too. That's how all their location services and stuff work too. Anyway, it's like things like having your Ring doorbell or whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's got its own little network, and people walking by with other Amazon devices, it's actually connecting and talking and feeding back through, your network to report that stuff in. And that's all stuff that you agree to in the user agreement when you sign up for any of that stuff, and they use it heavily. It's all turned on by default.
The idea of monetizing a voice assistant reminds me of the dude from Idiocracy who went around saying "brought to you by Carl's Jr." because they paid him every time he did.
Yeah, and also they wanted like voice-based shopping. Like say they wanted to partner with like food delivery companies or pizza companies, or they actually wanted people to buy stuff on Amazon too by voice. And it's like people are like, if we have that, kids will order random stuff, and then we don't want that. So people really don't want to use voice to order food or spend money using voice. So that's where Amazon thought there would be money, and then it turns out people really distrusted Amazon or their own, like they distrusted kids. Maybe they distrusted themselves, like we can't use voice to spend money, and that's where Amazon bet money on. So yeah,
Solution here is don't have kids.
It's in general, like I don't trust myself to use voice to order stuff.
I mean, like if I call a pizza place and talk to someone and order a pizza, is that not fundamentally the same?
They've got those buttons, like you could put one in the laundry room, and every time you run out of laundry soap, you just press the button and it orders more from Amazon. It just shows up.
You got to get those for like cat food and put in.
That seems really dangerous because, like, I have kids. They would be like, "Oh, button, 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 button." I mean, they would just
I'm
do
pretty
that.
sure there's like a cooldown to it. Like
my kids do not know about these. These are here in my office in the basement. So I like to get them to argue with each other, but that's about it. I'll set up the Google Home to play music, but usually the mic is off. These aren't listening to me.
Nate gets a 55-gallon drum of laundry soap at his door.
Yeah, because a lot of those smart devices, they're constantly listening to you. And what's company was caught like transcribing everybody's conversations? That was a Google company, I believe.
No, they've all been caught. Amazon's been caught doing
Yeah.
it. Google's been, they've all been caught doing it.
And yeah, I'm just like, and the thing here is they didn't get punished for it because it was in their user agreements. That's why you gotta read the damn things.
Yeah,
everybody should have just learned from the Nixon tapes.
Yeah.
What's interesting about those appliances that have like the voice assistant, if you like pick it up or something and the microphone is off, it's like, if you want to say something, please turn on the microphone. It's like it knows you're talking or something, and then it tells you to turn on the microphone so they can hear you.
No, they're touch sensitive.
Yeah, I know, but it sounds like they're listening to you because they say, if you want to say something to me, please turn on the microphone.
Yeah. But the thing is, they want you to turn on that microphone so they can constantly listen to you.
Yeah, the Google Mini does that. It knows when you're touching it because it's touch sensitive to volume control and tap to get its attention. And if the mic is muted, it'll remind you, hey, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, I think they added some of those features because of some of the backlash, you know what I mean? Some of these stories that came out, and I'm sure it hurts sales, not too much because people don't seem to care much about privacy by and large, but at the very least, as a marketing tactic, these companies like to at least put forth some sort of illusion of privacy.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because
of course,
back in 2013 when the original Xbox One was released, it was released with the Kinect. And one of the biggest kerfuffles about it was that the Kinect was always listening to you, waiting for you to say Xbox on or whatever. And like everybody in the gaming world just totally crapped on them for that. But then, like, I don't know, a few years later, 3 years later, Google Homes, Amazon Alexas are popular, and it's like, wait a second, weren't you guys just complaining about this?
Yeah.
Hang on, you just caused a problem. Xbox off. Okay. thank
Yeah,
you.
but then of course Google now with your phones knows if you're walking down the street or on a bus somewhere or driving in a car just by the location data and how fast you're going and what route you're on.
You know who else does? Everybody
Yeah.
around me watching me walk.
Yeah, but I'm just like, why does Google need to know that information? I'm just like, I walk in and out of Walmart and it asked me how my stay was there. I was like, I didn't even tell you I was at Walmart.
Oh, but it gets even more useful because if you pull up Google Maps for any business, it'll show you how busy that business is right now based on how many phones are in that business. And it'll give you a trend. How busy is this business usually at this time of day during, preceding weeks? And they'll make a suggestion for when you should go when it's not busy.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually kind of useful, and I like it.
It is.
But I also think it's really creepy.
You know what's creepy is when GM sends you an email telling you about your truck's health and then shows you a picture of what your dashboard shows you of all the tire pressures of all your tires. And you know what that pressure is because you just checked it. And they send you an email with all those pressures for them tires, just the way it looks on the dash. So you got 31 pounds in one tire, 30 in another, 32 in another, and 28 in another one. All laid out just like it is on the screen on your vehicle.
So I guess ultimately, like, my question is all this considered creepy because it's not a person telling you these things? Because like you can go out and check your tires, right? You can, run an OBD2, code and everything. You can do that with your car, right? Or like, hey, these guys, I don't want to order pizza with some random, disembodied voice, but I can call a person at the place and like that's perfectly fine. And like they know where I'm walking. Well, so does the people on the street, and so do your family members who you said, hey, I'm going here. Or it's just like this kind of weird disconnect of like, is it just because it's these like disembodied corpos grabbing all your data, or is it that
They're actively
it's
logging
different?
everything, keeping it control,
Yes.
listening
What
to
else
it,
information is that
accumulating the
you're getting out of
information
your
and
vehicle?
being
When
able
was your
to.
last burnout on the street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, you
so
think
I would
calling the
definitely
pizza
the
place
argument.
isn't creepy? Do you realize that when you call the pizza place, what pops up on their monitor? They
All your
already know
information.
your info. They already know your
Yes.
address. They know what you ordered last time. They could just ask you, "Hey, Dave, do you want the same thing you got last Thursday?"
I would
I'm
take
not
that argument
advocating.
though, Adam. Like what you mentioned. Okay, if I'm walking down the street, everybody who's on that street can see me walking by. Yeah, that's true, but that's a whole different level of discoverability and anonymous stuff as far as being able to tie all that information together, all your log, the stuff they track you through the internet. Like as an example, right? So I work at a hospital. We have to comply with all kinds of HIPAA laws about privacy and this kind of stuff, right? So this is an issue that comes up fairly frequently. We'll get complaints because someone will have a relative that saw them at the hospital and they didn't want them to see him. And so they'll file a HIPAA complaint, and we explain that, well, that's not a HIPAA violation. Like, you're in a public area and we can't stop your cousin Susie from seeing you, right? It's a public area. That's completely reasonable. However, we couldn't make our security cameras public and display those, like on a public website to the world and say, and with facial recognition and tracking people by name and saying, hey, guess who was, in the lab getting an STD test, yesterday.
Yeah,
like that would be a whole different level of thing, even though it's the exact same thing you're talking about. You're still in a public area where anyone could see you.
I
So
think
in using the services like Google's location services or any number of these things, right? You are, implying, or if not explicitly, then implicitly agreeing to whatever happens to your stuff, right?
Oh, it's
So
explicit. It's right in the user agreement.
Yeah, so the difference here is like if you go, like say if I go to a wedding, all right, and they have like a registration thing where I sign like the guest book or whatever, like, hey, I was here, right? There's like now a record that I was at this wedding. Now
Mhm.
most people don't really think twice about that. It's like, yeah, cool, you want to see who was at your wedding, awesome. And like, but me entering that wedding, I agreed to then sign this stupid book. Just like when I open Google Maps, I'm agreeing that like, hey, I'm gonna be tracked, right?
Oh, okay.
If I use an
However,
Android phone, I'm gonna be, part of these metrics of store things. And like, I understand the idea of reasonable privacy, but I think is it more that the companies are overreaching, or is it that the people aren't understanding?
I think it's
Okay.
like having somebody follow you, like you're talking about the doing on the street. It's like having some weirdo follow you and take notes about everything that you do. That's kind of that's how I
And
feel like our
publish
phones
those
are.
notes.
Yeah.
But
And
you know he's doing it. You're implicitly you've in this case explicitly with the user agreement said, yeah, I want this dude to follow me around and take notes of everywhere I've been.
Right.
I think
Right?
most people
So is
don't
it
know
his
how
fault
much
that he's just
how,
following you around because you wanted him to, but
I
like
think
now
most
you're mad
people
at him?
I think most people don't know how much they know about you. Like specifically like what you do, where you go, like everything is written down, everything is saved, and everything's gonna be on their servers until they want it to be deleted or transferred somewhere else. So you have
And-
absolutely no control over any of your data.
And this is also one thing is number one, you might be explicitly agreeing to it when you hit agree on that user agreement. However, to find what they're actually collecting on you, you have to read through like 10, 12, 15 pages, and who's going to do that? They purposely bury it so you can't find it. And number two, like if I go to Google Maps, bring up the map, bring up the application, so I can like navigate and use the GPS function, I am telling them directly that they can have my location at that time and they can tell me where they're going. However, when I close that, I'm no longer giving them permission to have that data. Why are they still collecting it?
It's a system-wide setting. It's not
Yeah.
an app setting.
And yeah, it should be an app setting and not just a system-wide setting. And you should be able to turn it off. Like
You
Apple
can.
just got sometimes,
You
but
can
not
turn it off,
everything.
but then you don't get navigation. You have to turn it on to get the navigation.
Yeah, but then they've also been like Apple. Whenever you turn that stuff off, it's been proven that they still collect that data even though you turned it off. So
I can give you a lot more information about what Apple collects, but
yeah,
you know, even in Linux, the apps that we use, especially the GUI apps, Flatpaks, whatever, the reason I have a problem with Flatpaks and snaps is because you can't, at least in the snaps case, you can't reproduce it. How many of the apps do you run call home? How many of them send metrics back to somebody saying that you ran the app, which means, of course, they know your IP, they know basically where you are, and that, you know, that gives somebody some idea of when you're active. Oh, he must have been on the computer at that time, and he must have been in this place at that time. And there's a lot more implicit data there than explicit data just by collecting that one metric. Like we're talking about Calibre today, it does that. Every time you open it up, it calls home. It lets the author know what version you're running, and they get your IP address and know where you are. And that's in the agreement. You agree to that when you install the app.
well, yeah, and that's something that Zorin a while back was caught doing because every 15 minutes it just ping and give away your IP address, your physical location, everything.
Yeah,
Well,
but
Debian did that.
didn't you
Debian did
just-
that forever. Popularity contest in Debian did the exact same thing. It would send a list of which packages you had installed, which was coming from your IP. Now, it wasn't just when you were using the system, it was in cron and happened on, I guess it was a weekly basis, but it was still, you know, identifying.
So
Ow.
keep in mind, you had no problem with no mistrust whatsoever in installing Calibre. Yet Calibre is calling home and giving out your information. So my whole point with all this is that it ain't that big a deal, and there's a lot more to worry about out there. Because like even the
Some
things
people-
you think are completely like clean are may not.
For some
be.
people, it is that big a deal.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's
get-
a
I
big
get
deal to
certain
me.
people, but-
It's an invasion of my privacy, especially when I didn't sign anything that General Motors could check the pacemaker in my truck.
So I guess I want to wrap this up because I want to get on to our community free pour. But in the wise words of Dr. Ian Malcolm, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Mm-hmm.
Something to think about. So that's from Jurassic Park. All right. So I thought it was a great discussion. Everything that we just Actually, I really quite enjoyed that actually. And I did not know that Calibre was phoning home. And I will say that there's, as far as the phoning home thing, that's a whole other discussion I think we should probably bring up next week. Which, by the way, next week is a news flight. But I would like to bring up, I don't want to add onto my agenda. I do want to talk about applications that phone home, and maybe continue this discussion, if at all possible, if the spark is still there, because sometimes once the spark leaves, the spark leaves. But yeah, so next week will be our last Linux Saloon Live this year, and it'll be a news flight night, maybe some sort of a Christmas tie-in, since that's what we're going into, Christmas season. So, and I like Christmas, and I have Christmas lights like crazy right now on my house. All right, so I want to move into our community member focus, our community free pour. And Ben and Justin, thanks for hanging out with us the entire time as we quibble over people, monitoring us and listening to us and what's phoning home and how much we like being followed around out in the World Wide Webs. So
that's why we're here. Wanted to spy on you guys. That's why we're here.
Oh, okay, good. I hope you took notes the whole time, Justin.
Justin, buddy.
But anyway, so you guys are working on a project together. Something called JULinux, or is it JULinux?
It's JULinux. Just use Linux.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Say it one more time.
It's JULinux or just use Linux.
Just use. Okay.
Yes.
So Ben, I put it in the notes as J-U-Linux.
That's
so I would
not how
actually
you spell it. It's just JU.
Right. But I wrote it down so that I would say it JULinux like that.
No, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I did that, because then you put a little note in there,
okay.
and I just want to let you know.
That's okay.
So I write things down how I need to say them, not necessarily.
No,
how
you're
they're.
fine. That's okay.
So
But
anyway,
yeah, I'll let Justin start us off because this is initially his project, and I just came in as like a co-developer. So I'm gonna let Mr. JU guy start it off here, and then he can sort of explain it, and then I'll jump in when he sees best.
Okay. So JULinux, originally it started under another name, but we had some issues with that. But basically, when I went through computer school, computer college, the goal was to try to figure out how to make Linux easier for Windows users. People are just starting out. We wanted to try to have the same type of environment, same kind of look and feel, and maybe tweak the app names a little bit so it made sense to the users. So, like K3B, what does that do? We don't know. It burns disk, maybe we'll put K3B disk burner or something like that. Just try to make things really simple and easy. And so what Ben has been doing is we've been collaborating on this Just Use Linux for a while. I'm not sure how many years we've been working together on it. And so we've been basing it on Ubuntu Mate because it was easy and it worked well in previous years, and sometimes it doesn't. And now it looks like we might be moving into Debian. We've tried that before. Sometimes when you're comparing between, Debian and Ubuntu, things don't translate the same, and it's not as easy to configure because things don't respond the same way between distributions sometimes. But that's what Ben has been working on. I've been really busy the last 2 years, so I haven't had a lot of time to invest in it. But Ben got a jump start on it, and he read my instructions I had from the last time we collaborated together. And it looks like he's got a good start on it. I don't think we've quite got to the point of even a beta yet, but it looks really good. The work he's done on it looks really, really good.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of challenges, like I said in the pre-show, building off of, because what we were doing with the JULinux 17 releases was the last one the last one we did was based on 20.04, and I think it was, and we were using Pin Guy Builder still at that time. Now the problem is that app is no longer maintained, and we tried going with Wolfland Builder this last time. However, that tool is very, I want to say, hardware picky, because at least on this machine that I use daily, my Lenovo AMD laptop. We tried to build an ISO based off Ubuntu Mate, like Justin was saying, and we couldn't get a sizable ISO that was reasonable to ship. Now, so I suggested to him, why don't we try basing it off the Debian? And so we're doing that. And like he said, I got us an ISO that is usable. And the only trouble is that it's 3 point something gig, well over 3.5. And we still have to find another build machine that we can trim it down and make it more reasonable size. So that's the main problem that we have right now. Other than that, I think it's perfectly fine. It's just we don't have a 32-bit browser right now for the 32-bit ISO, and we have to shrink the size down, and then I think it's perfectly okay as it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, the other issue right now is we got to find a new web host. I'm trying to find a web host provider, and I just went with HostGator. We called them up and we're talking to them, and they just got email back to me telling me, oh, we can't transfer your FTP, we can't transfer the web stuff, or we can't transfer email over. I'm like, oh no. So we got to try to find another hosting provider before December 15th, because that's when our cutoff date is. We'll get charged again for another year of Turbify. We're with Turbify right now.
Yeah.
We got that going on too. We've had nightmares. I've had nightmares with them. We've been criticized on our website because I wanted to use PHP based website, and it crashes on Turbify, and I've called them and asked them, they can't fix it. So we've got that going. But yeah, a lot's been going on, and I haven't had time like I have now to try to sit down with Ben and get into this, because I've had a lot of stuff going on in my life. So I think I might have finally gotten caught up to the point where I can work with Ben on this and get it all, hopefully on the same machine, and get working together on it and figure out what we need to do to make it work and trim down that size. We got to find out what's taking up all that space.
Yeah, that's the main problem we're having is we have to find Ninja, it's more like 3.7, 3.9, but I mean the point is installs and it runs, but again we need a better web host and things like that. So
and they were talking about privacy, and privacy, is a big issue versus convenience, right? And so sometimes when you have a Windows user, and Linux Ninja says he can help us out with figuring out hosting.
That would be good.
The problem with convenience versus privacy is a lot of people that are from a Windows world or maybe an Apple world or something coming in to Linux. They just want things that work the way they're used to, where they don't have to learn anything and get around. There's some programs that are very comfortable for them. And so in the past, with previous versions, we would have a notice that would tell people, like, you can install Google Chrome and it'll do these things, but it'll probably violate your privacy, So it'd say, would you like to install this knowing that it's going to do that? You'll be able to watch Netflix and Amazon Video and all these other things on it. But yeah, I'll give you those conveniences, but your privacy may go out the window, Yeah. So that's something.
Right, and I do say that we do ship with open source versions of Chrome, like Chromium and Firefox and things like that. But in the post-install app, the Finish installer, which is currently terminal-based right now, even though a heap of users that we work with are usually afraid of text mode in Linux, we haven't found a way to make it a graphical application right now.
Right.
Like
yeah.
We've been trying to find a way to do that, but neither of us have enough knowledge to do that. And what we're probably gonna, so we've just stuck with it being command line for now. And we do include that on the desktop for easy access, but the problem is that we want to, at some point in the future, make it graphical somehow.
Yeah, Linux Ninja has a suggestion for that. We were using some sort of built-in program that was already in the distribution to do a graphical install script and all that. And for whatever reason, at some point in development, it just quit working right. Like when they do newer versions of it, it just didn't work anymore. So we went back to text.
went back to the text route. Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, for the longest time, yeah, I might go through DistroTube's video on making that a little bit better. But what we're gonna do is, yeah, we'll talk with Linux Ninja at some point about fixing all these things and then going from there.
There's probably some
Yeah,
really
most-
good Python
Uh,
scripts you could use as well to turn to like a nice little GUI. A
uh,
lot of people, I see a lot of Python graphic interfaces. So
Yeah.
I imagine that might be an easy way to go as well too.
yeah,
Now,
yeah. we'll
And
look into
Ncurses
that,
is nice, like Eris said. Ncurses is beautiful. I mean, who doesn't like Ncurses? And John,
Yeah,
he also said, there's nothing
yeah.
wrong with a
And
good.
and not to divert from JULinux too much, but like I said, Nate, last week about my LFS build that I'm doing, the Pac-Man method went totally bombed, so I'm building it instead with Venom Linux's tools, and they haven't. Speaking of Ncurses, they actually have an Ncurses installer in their build tools, and that's how I'm going to do that
Cool.
next. But yeah, with JULinux, our thing there that at the end where it installs all your apps and stuff is currently a prompt-based thing. So yeah,
I see
we
Justin's
will-
taking notes, so I saw him pull out a
he
pen.
should.
on some of
Yeah.
this stuff, but yeah, ours is written in Bash too. That's how ours is working.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we just wanted to come on and promote this, and hopefully in a future episode we can have a distro look at it and go from there.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's fun to
Yeah,
try
and we do,
new and different
and the
things.
yes, and the installer that we use was originally Ubiquity, but in the Debian version, we are using Calamares to install it graphically, and that's because and we haven't got any custom branding on that yet, but hopefully at some point we can fix that. But right now I haven't found a way to put Justin's branding on that yet.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so right now it says install Debian because we're using the Calamares settings that they include. Because like I said, I haven't found a way to incorporate Justin's.
Very cool. Well, I hope you keep us up to date on how things are going. It's kind of it's fun to watch you bounce around these different little different projects that you do, Ben, and obviously you have a passion in building, so that's very awesome. Someone's got to be a builder out there. Not everyone can just
me, and I like helping people out with different projects from time to time, and as long as Justin wants to do it, I'm gonna do it. So
yeah. So very cool. Yeah. So look, I guess keep us in the loop on that.
You will, and you'll know.
Well, I know
as
you
soon
will,
as
Ben.
we have, I will, and we're gonna keep going on with
Bugging
this.
Justin about it too. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna keep them updated and you updated, and we'll go from there.
Well, Justin, thank you very much for joining us and telling us about your struggles. I hope you get some. There's a lot of great resources here. I'm not one of them, but Linux Ninja and others here are. They know a lot more than I do about such things. So hopefully you can connect with them and get some answers and get some solutions and move forward. Get the because I think having hosting or email issues is always a problem. You could also consider. I know I'm not an expert here on email, but if you could probably pull it all down and keep it locally from an email server, and then just when you transition.
Yeah.
And then you could
possibility. Justin.
Then you could IMAP. You could IMAP and then just push it back up. Manually. So that I would say the email part is probably the easiest. The only thing I know that I could solve on my own. So
yeah, that's some stuff that I mean, as far as the settings and everything, I know how to do a lot of that on my own, but it was crazy because HostGator just couldn't do it. I gave them the information and they just couldn't. I don't know why they couldn't do it. So
sometimes people just say no because it's easy to say no. That's what it boils down to much of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Well, very cool. Well, it is closing time.
Yes.
So Steve, I saw him in the chat. He's hopefully he's feeling better. I don't know if he's doing a live stream tomorrow, but he often does this coffee clash on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Central or 9 a.m. for you Eastern folks. Destination Linux will be streaming live tomorrow, so check that out. Linux User Space. They're running Gecko Linux for the month, and they just recently released their Linux Lite episode last Monday. Their next episode will be a topic feedback show, so send them your feedback. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. It's been Wendy was there. Matt is out still because of work reasons, and Bill joined us once again. And we talked about gift giving for nerds. So, like, what are the things that nerds would really like right now? I have a website called cubiclenate.com. I do things sometimes, not always. It's been busy. Got some things lined up. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network. Check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for being a part of the conversation in both the Zoom meeting and the YouTube stream, as well as everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved for making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah. Well,
I would take
I'm
that
not
argument
advocating.
though, Adam. Like,
Yeah, it is. I'm just like, this is why I'm.
Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly.